On the way to $1 million months, one of the most important variables that dictates whether you get there or not are the people that are helping you get there. Sales teams, the staff, but most importantly, the marketer. Marketer can make or break a lot of revenue potential. Okay, we recently had an inner circle member of ours. He was stuck around 100-ish K a month. Like at most, he was doing like $140 a month. And he was so sold that it was his marketer that was holding the business back. And, for the sake of the marketer, I just met the guy, and I'm starting the process of consulting them and like getting them to a point where I can give them a confident decision as to whether the marketer sucks. And at first, I'm only getting exposure to the guy for maybe like 3-4 weeks into the relationship. And the business owner who pays to be a part of the group comes to me and he just goes, look, I know you're trying to like get to the point where you can confidently make a decision about whether this is the guy or not, but I don't feel it's the guy. I feel like I gotta fire this guy. So he does. He just randomly fires the guy. And honestly, I was kind of convinced it was an erratic decision. I was like, I feel like you should let me just be a little more conclusive as to whether this guy's good or bad or not. We do this. He was sold it was a bad guy. And he ended up hiring somebody from the inner circle who's a marketer, an agency owner. Dude, no joke, like almost instantaneously, overnight, like all the problems that the business was dealing with just stopped. Every single thing that was going bad just stopped. And like overnight, like call volume was better. Quality of calls was better. People were coming through better frame. Revenue got better, and this business within a literal month went from like their best months at 140 grand. He was around 100K when he was having this problem and fired the guy. Got to 300 grand, okay? Like halfway through the fucking month of bringing on this new marketer, he was already at 150K in the month, okay? Marketers can make or break deals. And when you're on your path to $1 million months, you gotta know how to spot a good marketer from a bad marketer. So from a decade-long agency owner who spends millions of dollars a month profitably, very profitably, I'm gonna give you some perspective here today on how you as a business owner can tell, or maybe you as a marketer sitting here watching this can tell if you kind of suck at marketing or maybe using some outdated tactics and kind of give you the eagle eyes view of auditing your marketer and seeing if they're good or bad or not. My name's Jeremy Haynes. All we talk about on this channel is taking the lessons from hitting $1 million months and handing them down to you. We don't make any income claims. All we do is just take the top lessons of the businesses that we've worked with, which have been 40 now over the last decade that have hit $1 million months, pick apart what's working, what's not, and try to put them into bite-sized videos for you right here on my channel. So if you're new to the channel, welcome in. That's all we talk about. We appreciate you subscribing after you get some value from this one today. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back. I got another banger for you. Let's dive in. So I had a client. They onboarded in July of 2024, okay? This particular client had a paid marketer. A marketer that was doing paid advertising. And they were stuck. They were stuck around 100 to 300K a month. That's one thing that I want to start with, okay? If you're on your path to hitting $1 million months and you find yourself stuck, like it's just not fucking moving at all, that's a sign that something is wrong right there in itself. Because here's a difference that I want to make extremely clear. And I'll make it clear through the story I'm telling. When a good marketer comes in, you get immediate fucking impact on that business and it continues to move, okay? Moves up and to the right, the direction you want it to go. So anyway, this business stuck around 100 to 300K a month. They had one of my favorite sales agencies that exists, Mr. Josh Troy from Wires from Strangers, who's running the sales team of this specific business. And he said to the business owner, he said, look, this marketer that we got in the deal right now, they just kind of fucking suck. And I really want you to replace him with Mr. Jeremy Haynes. So she listens, and she brings us in. And man, oh my God, like when we came into this account, there were so many things that were going wrong. Like as an example, they were running a call funnel, and in a call funnel, it's very important, like just what you optimize for can be an example of whether somebody is doing good or whether somebody sucks, and they're doing awful. So what is the person optimizing for, okay? So in this particular case, in this story I'm telling you, they were running a call funnel. So the call funnel started with a page that had a headline on it, and it had a little VSL, and then it had an application, okay? Now in this case, the sales team, they refused to use Calendly, which is a best practice. We definitely encourage integrating with Typeform on this channel. That way you reduce the steps, because here's the thing. When you allow an application to have a separated scheduler page, you get a pretty dramatic drop-off, which was happening in this business. Right here, the quantity of people that were applying versus the quantity of people that would then schedule, there was a 50% drop, which is about the average, by the way, for the amount of people that would be qualified and apply that would not schedule, because they were separated. You don't want to do that. That's why we love Typeform and Calendly. I'm not an affiliate for them, by the way. I don't get fucking any money from them by promoting to you that specific combination. We just love that combination because it gets rid of that 50% drop off. So anyway, then you got the scheduler page. This is where the person can book a call. And then after that, you got the confirmation page, okay? AKA just the thank you page. This is where you get some information after the call is booked to help with pre-framing. Now, there were a few key things that were pretty fucked immediately when you looked at this. So this marketer was optimizing here on this particular step for the scheduler. So here they had, and this is the worst part, they had a custom conversion, and the custom conversion was linked to the submit application standard event, okay? There's two things right away I wanna make very clear to you, just to explain some technical details and help you understand this for why this is a problem, okay? When you optimize around a higher funnel standard event, it's not good because you're not getting what you actually want. What does the business actually want in this example? Do they want people that submit applications? Or do they want people who book a call that are qualified? Right, they want somebody who's qualified and filled out the application who booked a call. That's what they want. In this particular case, keep in mind, if you're new to this channel, you've never heard me fucking harp on this, but I harp on it again and again and again. I have a whole video on this channel dedicated to pixel conditioning that I would encourage you to go watch if you haven't watched it yet, that talks about some of these best practices in a lot more detail. Whatever you feed that pixel that hits that results column in the ads manager, that ad platform's AI, okay, the algorithm, is going to bias heavily in an extreme way towards the type of people that you feed it that are coming in as a result. So in this particular case, this advertiser who grinded this business to a halt at a measly fucking 100 to 300K a month, they were feeding back, this is the worst part, not only qualified applicants who didn't book calls or did book calls, they were feeding back unqualified applicants too. So anybody and everybody, unqualified and qualified, who simply applied, were getting sent back to the pixel. And then the pixel would use that information, because it is what was hitting the results column, to go find a fuckload more people who are both qualified and unqualified, who weren't even booking fucking calls. So all we did when we first came in, just as a perfect example of how easy this fix was, and that's the thing, by the way, when you work with the right people, things like this are just obvious dumbass actions that are easy to fix, okay? Again, I came in and I attempted to push immediately for integrating the scheduler with Typeform. The sales team in this particular case hates Calendly. They were super sold that it had to be scheduled once. It is what it is. I respect the hell out of Josh Troy, so I didn't push him too hard on that decision, even though it would have reduced our cost per call in half, since we would still have likely seen the same 50% drop-off rate. But instead of optimizing around the surface level standard event of submit application through a fucking custom conversion, we optimized around a higher quality standard event of schedule, okay? Now, this is very important to understand. A custom conversion is limited to the data that your business accumulates and contributes to that event. A standard event, which are the ones that the ad channel gives you the ability by default to optimize for. A few examples of this: purchase, add to cart, initiate checkout, submit application, schedule, lead, search, donate, all kinds of shit, okay? View content. These are the standard events that every single advertiser on the platform has available to them to optimize for and contribute data to. So to be clear, if every advertiser who's out there on the world's platform for whatever channel you're advertising on is using standard events and contributing good quality data to it for what type of people are doing what on the platform, think about how much money's spent to essentially condition the platform for who's doing what. That's essentially what you're playing into when you optimize around a standard event rather than a custom conversion. A custom conversion has data that exclusively is contributed to it by your business. Now remember, you can technically use a custom conversion and contribute a fuckload of really qualified people to it and eventually optimize around a custom conversion. I'm not trying to demonize custom conversions. When used properly, they can be great. But here's the thing. This shit advertiser that I'm articulating to you was not doing that. Remember, they were contributing unqualified people to it and qualified people to it for a more surface level upper funnel standard event. So therefore, what they kept getting was more unqualified people, some more qualified people, and all they were really doing was submitting applications, and a lot of them weren't booking calls. Versus as soon as I came in, literally as soon as I came in, I was like, hang on a second, guys. Does the application even have logic currently to send qualified people to one thank you page and unqualified people to a different thank you page? And the answer was no, they didn't. So I not only came in and immediately created a qualified place that people could go. Here's the thing. They had a team of setters that were happy to take calls for the lesser qualified folks. However, we didn't want those people to ever see the pixel. We wanted the unqualified people to have their own version of a thank you page that would not get pixeled. That way, the algorithm and the AI in the ad platform would never optimize around this type of person. We do not want the unqualified people. We only wanted the qualified folks to be hitting that pixel. Now, here's the craziest part. This guy, this advertiser's cost per application for an unqualified and qualified application was about $76. Okay, listen to this. I only sent back qualified applicants who booked a call. My cost per qualified scheduled call in the first month of me being on that account was $56 and some change. So I got a lower cost for only qualified scheduled applicant. And this wasn't like a light qualification process either. This was like a fucking 12-step application for them to then be able to go book a call. And keep in mind, that was without using Typeform and Calendly. I would have been getting about $27 cost per qualified booked calls had I had Typeform and Calendly integrated together, because I wouldn't have seen that 50% drop off between my application and my scheduler step. You see what I mean? So it's like, dude, perfect example when I talk about how to spot a dog shit marketer right away is what is the person optimizing for, right? Like, what's the standard event? Is it a standard event at all? Is it a custom conversion? Is it a custom conversion that's too high in the funnel? Is it a standard event that's too high in the funnel? And a lot of advertisers, they operate on very outdated logic. They haven't gone out of their way to update their operating system. You occasionally in your life, and it's very few and far between that you ever actually experience this, will come across a software in some portal that you use, in some fucking outdated business, probably a government business that uses like Windows Vista or like a super fucking old version of a PC software from Microsoft, okay? And when you experience it, you're like, holy fuck, this is chaotic, you know? Like, why don't these people update the software? You know, like the modern softwares are so much faster and so much better. And you try to ask yourself, like, why? At the end of the day, when you ask those businesses why, like, why are you still using fucking Windows Vista or like Windows XP? They will convince you with a straight face. They'll be like, sir, ma'am, we can't switch off that system. Like, and they'll give you a whole fuckload of reasons that to them are highly believable. To you listening to it, you're like, what? Like, that makes no sense. Like, what are you talking about? Everything you said doesn't make any sense. Advertisers operate the same way, dude. Marketers operate the same way. Some of them have had these like periods of their advertising and marketing career where they've learned a tremendous amount of stuff, you know, where they invested in education, where they invested into courses, where they just reflected on the lessons that they're learning when they spend money, and they've improved, you know, and they, through reflection and education and learning lessons from others the hard way, just like what you might be doing literally right now, they get to the point where they update themselves and they operate with like modern best practices and they have like modern software, you know, versus, oh my gosh, like, I'll give you a perfect example. This one's crazy to me. So inside of all these ad platforms, there is a huge emphasis on machine learning, okay? It is so few and far between I ever meet advertisers, period, or marketers that understand machine learning literally at all and how it's behind everything in all of these different ad platforms, especially Facebook and Instagram. Let me be clear when I say this. This is an advanced lesson. This is not necessarily something that I ever see amongst people who even spend a fuckload of money on Facebook, Instagram, or any ad channel for that matter. But it's a very important lesson nonetheless. And even the people who don't understand it, they still technically found ways to respect it and use it to their advantage, even being oblivious to it. Because you don't necessarily need to learn machine learning to understand the best practices of what makes campaigns perform right now. I'll give you a perfect example of what fucks a machine learning model up faster than anything else. So a lot of shitty advertisers, they'll have a campaign and it'll start off with like a handful of ad sets, okay? Maybe it has like 1 to 3 different ad sets, okay? And then they get to this point where one ad set stops working, so they end up duplicating it out. And then that next ad set stops working, so they end up duplicating it out. And then that ad set stops working, so they end up duplicating that one out. And then eventually, and this becomes fucking insane, by the way, in terms of how crazy it can truly get. They go from like a literal single set of ad sets, maybe like 1 to 3, all the way up to like, dude, I saw this guy just the other day. Joins into my inner circle. He has his marketer with him, and we're reflecting on like things that they could do better. And I'm like, yeah, man, share your screen. Like, show me what you got going on. Bro had one campaign in the account that had 117 ad sets. Okay, 117 ad sets. And then within each one of those ad sets, he was using static ads. Static ads is essentially just not dynamic ads. It could be a video, could be an image, could be like a set of copy, whatever, but it's like static ads, meaning they weren't dynamic creative. So each one of these ad sets also contained like he would do the same thing that I just described here on the ad level too. So like if an ad set was performing okay, but he wanted to like swap out some of the lower performing creative, he would just go to the ad level, turn some stuff off, and then turn a bunch of new stuff on and just launch it within the same campaign. That, what I just described, is so against the best practices of literally any single ad platform that you could name right now. It goes against everything that these platforms are built on when it comes to a machine learning view of them. So let me give you a perspective. And they put this stuff out, by the way. If you just go onto any Google platform or search platform that you prefer, I'm gonna give you a perfect example, okay? So currently it's called the Performance 5. And the Performance 5 is from Facebook. You can type in Performance 5 Meta. And this is the current set of best practices that they put out. And notice how they haven't updated it, by the way, since 2022 in September. Because again, they update it when new best practices come out. This is what algorithmically their platform currently biases towards in terms of best practices. I will be fair in saying there's a lot of stuff that like the reps specifically will tell you that is just dumb as fuck. Like if you get one of those marketing reps who rotates between like 90 and 120 clients a quarter, I'm not sitting here trying to attest to the fact that what those people tell you to do are best practices or good, okay? A lot of the times, those people are just awful contractors that work for Facebook for like a fucking year or two, then they churn out of the business. Like those aren't generally good people. Just respectfully to those people, there are a few, like a literal few that are like actually good and helpful, but you don't get any real insight or real help until you spend $1 million a month in ad spend for at least 6 months from either your agency account or from a single client's account. So we have several industry ad experts that we get assigned to us relative to the client and them meeting those spending thresholds, and just us as an agency. Industry ad experts have anywhere between like a handful to maybe 24 different clients at a time, and they're actually helpful. They'll roll out alpha tests and beta tests to you to give you new features before literally anybody else and everybody else. They'll be beneficial. Like they'll fly that person, Facebook specifically will fly that person to wherever you are in the world and wherever your local headquarters is, or wherever you want to meet that person, and they'll give you like highly valuable presentations on things that you can actually use. So we've learned a lot from the industry ad experts. In addition to that, it's important to note, like one thing that our industry ad experts have pointed out to us, like this specific best practices guide is not written by those fucking dumbass reps, like the regular base level marketing reps. This is written by the algorithm engineers, okay? The algorithm engineers, the people responsible for how the ads perform in the algorithm, wrote this. And they also wrote what I'll show you next. So the Performance 5, account simplification. This is literally the first and number one thing that they put, okay? Account simplification is not this. This is not account simplification. Account simplification would look more like this, where you have a campaign, maybe you have like 1 to 2 different ad sets, at most, maybe 3. You're using dynamic creative. They love dynamic creative. And there's also a toggle, by the way, on the dynamic creative level. This is also in some accounts called flexible ads, by the way. You'll typically see the ability to turn dynamic creative on or off on the ad set level, and then you turn flexible ads on or off on the ad level. But to be clear, this right here is an example of one of these best practices. Account simplification, okay? They fucking love that. And you know why they love it? Because machine learning loves it. Machine learning performs better and for longer durations of time when there's less complexity. So here's how almost every model looks when you have machine learning principles respected in your campaigns. You get consistent performance over a longer duration of time, and then eventually your campaign will plateau. It'll hit a hard ceiling, and then from there, that's where you start to see pretty significant negative returns. This specific window is what I label ad fatigue, okay? And we have a whole video dedicated to best practices on ad fatigue. If you haven't seen that yet, it's actually one of the first videos I posted here on my channel. I'd encourage you to check that out. What we do not do when we have ad fatigue is just fucking relaunch another ad set or just dupe out ads within the existing ad set, because that complicates the model. It's an awful practice, okay? What we do instead is we relaunch the campaign, because the campaign relaunches the machine learning model, okay? We don't relaunch a fuckload of new ad sets within the same model. That worked in like 2017, okay? That worked for some of 2018. And then it just fucking shit the bed, okay? Just because you can launch a bunch of low spend fucking ad sets in multiples of 100, and get it to theoretically work at low levels of spend does not mean that that's a best practice to get to $1 million months. And that's what I'm trying to point out. Some of you sitting here literally right now listening to me who are marketers that are like, oh dude, I do that right now. Like my performance is fine. Yeah, but you're not making any fucking money. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about scaling to $1 million months. You're just sitting here yapping about, oh dude, I'm doing a couple $100,000. And that's exactly what I'm trying to call out. You don't want to be stuck at a couple $100,000. You want to get to the fucking big bucks and make some serious fucking money. There's a total difference in how you have to behave, how you have to perform, what you have to do to get there. And as an example of that, recognizing and respecting and working around machine learning properly is a huge example of that. Just to point it out. You see what I'm saying? Can't ignore these kind of things. That's an example of why you stay stuck. So again, there's 5 total best practices in the Performance 5. That's why they call it the Performance 5. They're also really big on UGC, leveraging people. And notice what they say here, creators for direct response. So their version of UGC is not just grabbing random fucking people. It's grabbing people with authority in the niche that you have to talk about your product and service highly and leveraging those as creatives. That's why on the ad level, if you didn't notice, they allow partnership ads now, where you can have another page actively in your ad account that says like this person plus this company, or this company plus this company, and it says this and that at the top in the little clickable bar there. That's why they give you the ability to do that, because they're endorsing the fact that authority from other people in your niche being used on your specific products helps a fuckload. If you look at a company like AG1, or there's a new blue blocker company, I don't know the name of, starts with an R, that leverages Andrew Huberman. Okay, Andrew Huberman aligns himself with all kinds of shit that people buy on, the I don't even know what you necessarily call it, like fringe health stuff that's not necessarily widely recognized. And my point being, it's like when that guy endorses something, people buy a fuckload of it. Dave Asprey was another version of this with the companies that I've seen him actively endorse. He's essentially like a smaller Huberman before Andrew Huberman existed. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make is when a company like AG1 runs Andrew Huberman ads, they get a fuckload of people that buy because they're leveraging the authority that Andrew Huberman has established with his audience and as a character in their ads to endorse their product, thus more people buy. Creative diversification. So this one's huge. This is why we leverage dynamic ads, because there's a little toggle on the ad level that says optimize creative for each person. Okay, if you've watched my videos before, you're gonna love what I'm about to say and you'll remember it, okay? Burn it into your brain. If you're new, remember this. Average person who's on the platform of Facebook and Instagram, there's 52,000 data points per user that they've accumulated on those people per user. I always like to make this joke. You don't know 52,000 things about yourself, yet every fucking advertiser who doesn't use dynamic creative, they always like to use this argument where they're like, oh, but sometimes Facebook puts spend towards the ads that don't perform as well. And it's like, well, yeah, no shit, because you have some creatives that are gonna do better for a broader quantity of people, but you'll have other creatives that you've uploaded into your dynamic creative ads that will still get distribution, but very little distribution when that specific creative asset has a higher probability to get the person to convert. Because again, you don't in real time have the ability to say, I know 52,000 things about every fucking user that I'm sitting here targeting right now, so I want to force spend on all these specific creatives because I know these work best. No, you fucking don't. You don't know what works best. They know what works best because they have 52,000 data points that are updated in real time about what works and what doesn't for getting that user to convert, okay? Based on a conversation they're listening to. They can put your ad immediately in front of them where one of your ads that hasn't gotten a lot of distribution and looks like it sucked, theoretically and coincidentally talks exactly about what they just spoke on the phone about. So it'll have little to no reach, it'll finally get a conversion, but it's what got that person to convert. You see what I mean? Dynamic creative, another best practice that they leverage, and putting different formats. So it's like, don't just upload square ads, upload some story format in 9x16s, some landscape videos, some square ads. You get what I'm saying? Like optimize around creative format and dynamic ads. So when you look at like best practices, and you look at like how to tell if your marketer sucks. If they have a campaign where there's just a fucking infinite amount of ad sets and they're trying to convince you like, oh no, dude, this works best. That could be a great reason why you're stuck at only a couple $100,000 a month or whatever the fuck you're stuck at and you're not making more money right now. It's because they're actively and willingly and argumentatively, when you bring it up to them, going against the actual best practices of the platform. Okay, and then some of these other things like conversion API instead of just leveraging the pixel. And in addition to that, what they call business results validation. Okay, and they're essentially saying like, look, because the cookie's dead, it's important that you get good quality data back to the pixel, which is something we talk about around here all the time. Now, prior to the Performance 5, Facebook had what they called the Power 5. Okay, and the Power 5 was another variation of this, but it was an earlier on variation. So just to be clear, look how similar some of these best practices are. They're just a little simpler, to be fair. Like auto advanced matching, that's just a little setting you can turn on the pixel level. Account simplification was still a best practice back then. Campaign budget optimization, they've gone away from that. They've obviously recognized ad set budget optimization or CBO can both work fine. Automatic placements, again, I mean, pretty simple. I thought this was relatively biased when they put that out because audience network's dog shit. You should always select manual placements and uncheck audience network. And then dynamic ads. So again, each one of these, they have a little tab for here to explain it and be able to try to give you some perspective. They did really good with the Performance 5 specifically with how much more in-depth they made it comparatively to the Power 5, which is another big reason to understand, like, remember, algorithm engineers put this fucking piece of advice out there. Probably wise to follow. So again, the point I'm trying to make with this, okay, just to give you a few different perspectives, your marketer can dramatically hold back the business, okay? Whether it's what they optimize for, and by the way, in this same example, outside of the fact that there was no qualification going on in that funnel and they were allowing unqualified people and qualified people to hit the pixel, whereas I came in, I optimized for a further down the funnel standard event. I optimized it to only have qualified people come back to the pixel. I also came in and I updated the confirmation page immediately because the confirmation page, and this was what was crazy, they didn't even have a fucking confirmation page in this first one. When people scheduled a call, it was just the standard schedule once, like, hey, you booked your call confirmation page, which looks like shit. We immediately built a thank you page that had a lot of good quality information on it, pre-framing videos. Here's how the invitation is going to look when it shows up in your inbox type instructions, pre-call checklist information. And that made a dramatic difference. Us doing content marketing. The other thing we immediately came in and did was the hammer them strategy. We got immediate feedback from Josh and his sales team in this example of them saying like, dude, people are showing up a lot more qualified, a lot better framed. They appear further along in the sales process. That's the type of feedback you want to hear. That's what a good marketer does. They come in simply put and they know like immediately what needs done in order for you to make more money. When your marketer stops contributing ideas, when your marketer doesn't accept responsibility, or just be transparent with you when something is a shared responsibility. I'll give you a great example. We have clients all the time, and consulting clients and inner circle members and master internet marketing students, everybody across the board, even people like you here on YouTube that'll comment things like, hey, I'm struggling with my show rate. Who's responsible for it? Like, is it my marketer's job? Is it my salesperson's job? That's a great example of a shared responsibility statistic. It's like, yes, your marketer for the framing that they use on the confirmation page, the framing that they use to get people to book in the first place, using content remarketing strategies, like the hammer them strategy as an example, having a good, proper, well-built email sequence. That's where it might be your marketer's responsibility, but maybe you have a copywriter that's responsible for the emails that's got to do that part, right? These are all things that you got to consider. But then on top of that, you got the sales team in this case. The sales team also shares responsibility for the show rate because they can pull out their fucking iPhone, send a selfie video to the person, and that above almost everything else can increase the show rate higher than any other tactic, right? We had a sales team recently we told to do this. You know what they did instead? They bitched and whined about the fact that they had to use their cell phones. They didn't want to do that. Instead, they sent fucking Loom videos from a Go High level CRM phone number that showed up green with a non-clickable Loom link. You see what I mean? Versus as soon as they switched to sending a selfie video from an iPhone to the person, their show rate went up 20% overnight. That's a shared statistic. You see what I mean? It's like, yeah, as a marketer, I can influence a lot. And that's the thing. This is what makes a good marketer from a bad marketer. They'll tell you things like what I just said. They'll literally tell you, hey, by the way, I can do all these things and I will, but also we should do this over here. They'll tell you the things that they are responsible for, and they'll also tell you the things that they're not responsible for that can still make a hell of a difference if you do them, you know? The other thing, and this is very important to understand, good marketers, especially when you're looking at scale and breaking $1 million months, the most common characteristic is that they're actually focused on scaling, okay? So many times, and it honestly just sucks to see because it happens so often. Businesses tinker their way into the ground. They split test their way into fucking poverty, okay? It's like if something is turning money into more money, like we had a guy the other day. I honestly, like I had to get blue in the face yelling at this guy to understand this because he just wouldn't get it, okay? Joins into the inner circle. He's flipping like tens of thousands, like low tens of thousands of dollars a month into a 25x ROAS, okay? And he started the scaling process and his 24x ROAS went to like a 19x ROAS. So you know what he did? He lowered the fucking ad spend back down below what it was when it was at a 25x ROAS. And then he started fucking split testing random stuff to try to get it back up to a 25x ROAS. If you're turning $1 into more than $1 and it's profitable and you're putting dollars in your pocket as you profit, reinvesting as you also profit, scale instead. It's another important thing to understand about a good marketer from a bad marketer. A good marketer, a great marketer will fucking press you to scale the fuck up. Will give you a financial model to be able to demonstrate to you a reinvestment rate that makes sense for factoring in how much you want to pocket each month off what you profit, okay? And then to be clear, a bad marketer, they won't financial model shit, first of all. They'll just guess, which is another huge sign of a shit marketer. They do no financial modeling. And then two, a shit marketer, they're not focused on scaling. They're focused on like just split testing shit and trying to allow what I just described to occur. If I was the marketer on that account, we're at anything like a 5x ROAS, a 10x ROAS, we are pumping the fucking gas. We are going hard at scaling. And yes, as you scale, run split tests, improve your ROAS, get things to work better, but scale, get bigger, get more money, earn more money, profit more. But remember, it's so important to understand, like a bad marketer, they won't even be able to tell that a 25x ROAS at an extremely low level of spend is just not probable to hold when you spend like $500,000 a month eventually. A good marketer will not only tell you that, they'll forecast it with financial modeling. There's so many individual things, but I hope some of these expose the fact that first of all, if you're oblivious to these things, you as the business owner need to invest into yourself to become educated and aware of them. Here's what makes a difference in your business to actually make a fuckload more money. Again, this is so important to understand. When you as the business owner are educated about what can work and what can be tested, you can therefore contribute ideas and hold your people like a marketer accountable to a much higher level comparatively to when you're completely oblivious to these things instead. Imagine you have a whole sales team. You got a sales manager, you got salespeople, but you have zero focus on sales at all. You just suck as a salesperson, and therefore you've completely offloaded it to these people in your organization. You'll have no idea when they're full of shit and bullshitting you. You'll have no idea what you can tell them to do, how to hold them accountable, how to improve them, what to do when the different scenarios in your sales team come up that need fixed or that need amplified. Same thing with marketing. Marketing is so important when it comes to hitting these big $1 million months. It's so important. Almost every single person that we've worked with hands-on or that we've worked with through consulting or one of our education offers that hits $1 million months, they are so fucking good at marketing. They are so educated about marketing. They're so aware of marketing. Even if they don't do it themselves hands-on, like they're not the one in their ad account, they get the game because they've taken the time to invest into themselves to learn the game, which is what you have to do. If you find yourself right now sitting here reflecting on the fact that first of all, literally any of this could be going on in your business right now, or even worse, if you were just oblivious to this kind of shit, invest into yourself. I help people like you. Join into my Inner Circle program. There's a link in the description. We do twice a month one-on-one call. You can message me in real time and ask me questions. You could send me Looms, Google Docs, your funnel. We do a weekly review call where you can send in your marketing automation, your ads, your funnels, or for about an hour or two, I sit there and I just review all of the Inner Circle members' funnels, ads, marketing automation, try to give you perspective to improvement. You can message me that shit in real time. I'll review it then and there too. In addition to that, We do our quarterly masterminds. We do them right here in Miami, Florida in person. We stream them live for those that can't come in person for that particular one. We do those 4 times a year, just in case you don't understand what every quarter means. They're awesome. You get to network with a bunch of people that are trying to get a fuckload richer than they are right now and that are likely already richer than you, that get a lot more than what you get to in terms of the game that we just talked about. It's tremendous for how fast it makes you grow. We got a very active group chat full of these rich people who are trying to get a hell of a lot richer. You can go in there and ask whatever questions you want. You'll not only get my perspective, you'll get other people's perspectives too. Because guess what? We all give a fuck about each other getting richer. It's a hell of a community. It's a hell of an offer. And we want the right people to join. Again, if you're already doing a couple $100,000 a month, we have 15 people in there doing $1 million a month, by the way. By no means implies that you're gonna hit $1 million a month by joining in. But I'll tell you this, you will learn a fuckload going through that specific offer. That's one thing I can assure you. Now here's my point. If any of this is happening in your business right now, you're losing money. You're willfully driving a car with the fucking e-brake rip. It's inefficient. It doesn't make sense to operate this way. Nut up and invest into yourself. It's fucking go time. Check out the links in the description and look, at the very least, go binge a bunch of my other videos. You get a ton of value. I don't hold back with you guys, right? Yeah, technically, because it's free on YouTube, I don't put you onto the level of game that I put onto my inner circle members, my master internet marketing students. I absolutely withhold information. But just like you just learned here in this video, it's still a fuckload more and better information than you're learning anywhere else from your paid offers you've invested into. Imagine how good my paid stuff is comparatively to this. My YouTube videos are still bangers though, and I'd love for you to go check them out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And again, thank you for being here. Go get richer. Talk soon.